Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name's Radha, and I'm here with our family of seekers, regular family of seekers. We're reading through the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse, and it's changing our lives. I was thinking about this weekend, I was thinking about when I got into spiritual life, and I was thinking about how just these two practices of studying the Bhagavad Gita and chanting japa, like chanting on mala beads. It's a meditation. How that has just like completely changed the whole trajectory of my life. Like just those two practices in the association of devotees, which is like in the association of like-minded souls. And if I had to like say, it's probably like two of the practices I'm most attracted to in spiritual life, I think it would be those two. So this ancient text has really saved my life, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you all, studying it. So today we are in text chapter 11. We're almost finished with chapter 11. I think we'll just have a couple more sessions, and then we'll be through it. But we're starting with text 47 today. So chapter 11, text 47. But before we get into that, Jennifer, do you want to say our prayers for us this morning?
Yes, thank you. Om Ganati Mirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakchurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamaniti Namane. Vanchakalpata Ruibescha Kripasin Hubayebascha Patitanam Pavanev Bayo Vashnev Bayo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garaha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer. So in the last class that we had, we talked about how power can impress us, but relationship is what ultimately transforms us. It's kind of the theme of our last class. And we saw that even after witnessing the universal form, this unimaginable display of power and time, destruction, cosmic greatness, what Arjuna wanted most was Krishna's personal form back, just his friend back. He's realizing my friend is God. God is so great. This is amazing. But at the same time, I just kind of want my friend back. And this says something really deep about the human heart, because most of us spend so much of our lives trying to feel secure through things outside of ourselves. Control, achievement, certainty, stability, success, answers. This is like the default mode of the mind, what the mind will look for to feel secure. We want life to feel manageable and predictable and safe. And then life happens. Something changes. A relationship falls apart. We lose something important to us. Maybe our health declines. Something destabilizes us. And suddenly we realize that the ground underneath us is not really as solid as we maybe thought or liked to believe. And for Arjuna, when he sees the universal form, it completely shatters his ordinary way of seeing reality. It overwhelms him. It disturbs him. It frightens him when he sees this kala rupa, the form of time. He sees just everybody marching into the mouth with like sharp teeth, and they're just kind of being devoured. It's quite graphic. But what's beautiful then is that Krishna, he doesn't leave him there. He gradually brings Arjuna back to peace, back to relationship, back to intimacy. And eventually Arjuna says something very significant. He says, now I have returned to my original nature. And I think this is maybe kind of the deeper theme of the section of what we're studying today, because spiritually speaking, our original nature is not fear. Our original nature is not disconnection. Our original nature is not anxiety or isolation. This is for us to learn and to realize that our original nature is loving connection with God. That's our original nature. And the more that we reconnect with that deeper reality, underneath all of the constantly changing circumstances of life, which are inevitable, this is the nature of life. But the more we connect with this deeper reality underneath it all, the more peaceful and steady we become. This is actually the security that we're all looking for. And we misplace it in other things of this world. And then we're disappointed when it turns out that they're not really as stable as we thought. But, that's really our bad. It's really our bad for thinking that they were stable in the first place and investing so much of our time and energy and heart in them, when actually the only thing that is eternally stable is our relationship with God. And that is our original nature. And so once we build our foundation on that, we learn to build our foundation on that, then everything else, when the unstable things kind of collapse, we don't collapse with them, because we are grounded in what is actually stable. So today we're going to explore what it means to be restored through relationship, and why reconnecting with Krishna is ultimately what brings the heart back home to itself. So this is another sweet section of this chapter. So we'll start with 47. So chapter 11, text 47. And are you able to read today, Shraddhanjali, or would you like somebody else to read?
I can read, just can't sing.
Okay, great. So we could just do 47, the English translation, if you'd like.
Yes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you, by my internal potency, this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence."
Thank you. So if we remember in the verse right before this, Arjuna asks to see Krishna's four-handed form. And so now Krishna's kind of like teasing Arjuna. He's reminding him like just how extraordinary this experience was of him revealing the universal form. It's kind of like a playful way. He's like, remember, Arjuna was the one who asked to see the universal form in the first place. So but Krishna's basically like, Arjuna, you asked to see this form and I showed it to you. This form's incredibly rare. Like no one's seen it before. Like, why do you suddenly want to see something else? It's kind of this like a sweet, playful conversation, because this form wasn't something that just ordinary vision could see. This was Krishna personally revealing something far beyond ordinary human perception. If you remember, he gave Arjuna divine eyes to see it, and he's now saying like, do you realize what I just showed you? Like, this isn't a small thing, so Krishna's emphasizing here, first, the greatness and the uniqueness of the universal form, and second, the intimacy of his relationship with Arjuna. because the fact that Krishna revealed something so rare to Arjuna says something about how special their relationship is. Like, remember, this particular form of the universal form has never been seen before. Yes, the universal form is shown in other places, but the form with Kala Rupa, the form of time, has never been shown. This particular form. And yet, even after seeing something that no one else has seen that is incredibly rare, Arjuna still wants Krishna's personal form back. Which again brings us back to this deeper theme that runs through the whole chapter, which is that power can astonish us, but ultimately relationship is what the heart is really longing for. Because that's exactly where Arjuna goes after he sees this great, vast, impressive thing. He just wants his friend back. So now we will go into 48. Whenever you're ready, Stella.
O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in the material world.
Thank you. Can I be seen as this form in the material world? So Krishna is continuing to emphasize just how rare this form is. He says, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. And then he says something really important. He says, this form cannot be seen through studying the Vedas, through performing sacrifices, through giving charity, doing pious activities, or even severe penances. So in other words, this vision of the universal form doesn't come because someone is materially qualified or even like spiritually impressive on paper. And this is important because sometimes we think spiritually, like our spirituality is just about accumulating accomplishments. It's like checking the box, like, okay, did I chant today? Did I study today? Like I practiced enough. I suffered enough. I followed all the rules. But Krishna's making the point here that this kind of revelation ultimately comes through mercy. We should understand that. This is such a dangerous thing in spiritual life when we start thinking that I achieved all of this on my own because of just how committed I was and all of the spiritual practices that I did. This is like such a dangerous place to be. I was just giving a japa class yesterday in our guided japa. We were talking about how important humility is when we approach God, because the moment that we fall under the illusion that we're not actually dependent on God, we become like closed to being able to receive his mercy. And I compared it to like a child who doesn't realize their dependence on their parents, right? And therefore is not so receptive to their parents' advice. So it's like as soon as we shut that, as soon as we don't realize how dependent we are on God, we can't hear him, even though he's talking to us in the heart all the time. We're not tuned to that frequency. The door is blocked. The door is shut. So we have to understand just how dependent we are on God. And that even if we practice a lot, even if we chant a lot, even if we study a lot, we do all of the things, any progress that we make or any revelations that we have is not because of your own effort. Your own effort may have attracted Krishna's mercy, but it's ultimately Krishna's mercy that is powering us and powering our spiritual lives and our progress. And I used to hear this. This might be a little bit of a tangent, but I used to have a teacher who would say, like, anything good that you see in me came from my teachers. Anything bad that you see in me came from me. And I remember I used to think, like, well, that's not fair. Why give the good away but then take the bad? But the more that we understand this knowledge, what Krishna is teaching us here is that we, at our very core, we are pure spirit souls. And our teachers help us uncover all the muck and mud that is covering that up. So, of course, the credit goes to our teachers for that. But if it's still covered up, it's covered up with our own gunk, right? And that's our responsibility. That's us getting in the way of the soul really shining through, of the soul's qualities really shining through. Yeah. So we are, all this to say that we're all mercy cases, and whether we realize it or not, and to the degree that we realize it, we become empowered. So that's what Krishna is saying here. This is all of this. You got to see this divine vision, this universal form, because of my mercy. Understand that it's not because anything that you do or don't do. It's just my mercy. And he says, not because of material activities either. And when we talk about material activities, we're mostly talking about things that are performed in the modes of passion and ignorance, which is like activities that are centered around the ego, control, achievement, selfish desire. Like ultimately, those kinds of activities don't really get you anywhere eternally. They may increase like your temporary bank account, but we all know when we pass it, you don't get to take that with you. That's gone. And anything like that you accumulate or earn here in the material world, it's gone. Ultimately, it's just our spiritual bank account that stays with us. Our spiritual bank account stays with us, and we get to take it to the next life. Wherever we were, we get to pick right back up. So those activities that we do in goodness, and not just in goodness, but that are devotional and kind of orientate us into relationship with God. Those are the activities that really attract God's attention and cause him to shower his mercy on us. Right? So Krishna's driving home this deeper point that this vision simply cannot be obtained through human effort alone. It's not something you can force. It's not something you can purchase through achievement. It has to be given. It has to be revealed. It comes by grace. So Krishna's just kind of continuing this playful exchange with Arjuna in this verse. He's like, it's like, Arjuna, this form is unbelievably rare. Nobody else has seen it. It can't be obtained through ordinary spiritual practice or material qualification. So why are you so eager to give it up? Like you have it. I gave it to you out of my mercy. Now you just don't even want to see it anymore. Imagine, he's like the chosen one, and he's like, it's too much. I don't want to see it anymore. Just bring me back to your two-handed form. It's very sweet. Should we move on? Or does anybody want to share anything?
I have a sort of a silly question.
Yeah, no questions are silly.
Well, good. It's showing my lack of understanding. He's known Krishna as, his cousin, and all these instances before this battle, and in the battle he is his charioteer. So prior to the Krishna appearing in the two-arm form on the planet in this dynasty, was the process of worship of the four-arm form of Vishnu more prevalent so that they didn't even understand the two-armed form. So that when he asked to see the four-armed form, he's just trying to go back to what he had been worshiping, or it had been the place of worship before this version of Krishna with two arms. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm just thinking about the forearm versus the two arm versus the universal form. And I understand I don't understand, but I understand what's being said here about the universal form has never been seen before. But I mean, he obviously knew the forearm form, and I was like, that might have been what he grew up with before he actually came into contact with this beautiful two-arm form. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Kalachandji knows or Shraddhanjali knows. I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you. Yeah.
There was in the third age, it's they did worship temple RT, that was the main form of devotional. Like in Kali Yuga, the main form is chanting the holy name. In that third age, it was temple worship. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah. I'll ask my resources too, and come back maybe next time with an answer. I asked actually one of my teachers, like just after the last class, like, why did Arjuna ask to see the four-armed form and not the two-armed form? And he's like, no, he asked to see the two-armed form. I was like, no, he asked to see the four-armed form. And he showed him the two-armed form. And then that's as far as the conversation went. Then we got distracted with something else. So I'll ask around and see. Yeah, it's sweet just kind of trying to piece it together.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Kalachandji's point that he raised, that you know that he may have been comfortable with Vishnu as a point of worship, but wanted to prove that Krishna was the origin of Vishnu, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore wanted to see that form. I don't know. It might be tied to that. So it's
Yeah.
hard to ask that question.
Yeah.
It just struck
No,
me. It's like, why
it's
would he
great.
ask for the forum form? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's great. We'll keep churning on that and come up with some more answers. Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything? Anything around mercy or starting to feel like we've done it all ourselves? I have a nice relationship with Veda. Many of you are close with Veda also. And we talk, just here and there, we text each other, just various things that are going on, or, we just kind of stay abreast to what we're doing in each other's lives, and whenever, he'll always say, oh, what are you doing? And, I'll tell him the things that are going on. And the advice he always gives me is like, just know that you're not the doer. Just know, he just like, I feel like he just constantly says this to the point where I'm just like, when I text him what's going on, I think about it myself because I know he's going to say that, because this is such a pitfall in our spiritual lives, is if, some of our efforts bear some fruits, we think that we're the tree that grew them, or that, and even if they did grow from, our so-called branches, those were nourished by Krishna. Those were nourished by Krishna and our teachers. And we have to be so careful about when we take credit, because then it's like everything just falls down, because it's built on the fact that we don't. It's like when we start thinking that we're the leaves, and that we water the leaves and that's how they grow. It's like, no, it grows from the roots, nourishment to the roots. That's what makes the leaves grow. And we have to have that. We have to practice that realization, or the whole plant will shrivel up. So I always really appreciate him reminding me of that, And it also feels good too. It feels good because when you have that realization, it makes you feel closer to God. When the opposite is true, it actually makes you think you're independent. It puts you in kind of an illusionary state of thinking that you're independent when we're actually not. But that's where this pride comes from. On the opposite side of the coin of pride is like self-deprecation, like just thinking that you're, low self-esteem and things like that. So you kind of get out of that altogether. And it's like, oh, wait, I'm not the center. It's not all about me, and it's not all my efforts. It's Krishna's mercy. It's such a liberating way to live. I've just started to hit the tip of the iceberg on it, but I just the tip of the iceberg. I could feel it's just so much more liberating to live in that place than to take credit for everything. Yeah. Okay, should we move on to 48?
You You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire.
Thank you. That was 49. I think I said 48. I was off a verse. So it's 49. Thank you. No, I was off. So you read the right verse. I told you to read the wrong verse. So perfect. Oh. Yeah. So now Krishna's responding very tenderly to Arjuna. He sees that Arjuna's become overwhelmed and disturbed and fearful after seeing the universal form. And he basically says, okay, enough. Let the fear go now. Let the bewilderment go away. And you can almost just feel Krishna comforting him here. He's just reassuring Arjuna, you're my devotee. You don't need to be afraid. Krishna tells him, now let your mind become peaceful again. Right? And you can see the form you actually desire. So through all these statements, Krishna's just blessing Arjuna back into peace. He's calming his heart. He's bringing him back into relationship. Because the universal form was important. It established Krishna's greatness beyond any doubt. This is set the gold standard. Don't believe that anybody's God unless they can reveal this form to you. But it's not really the form through which loving exchange naturally happens. And this is an important point. And this is one of the defining characteristics of a devotee, is that they're not ultimately attracted to the universal form because it's just very difficult to reciprocate love with something that's so vast and all-pervading. And that's what a devotee is really interested in, is this personal reciprocal relationship. Personal reciprocal relationship. It's imagine trying to have a personal conversation with the entire cosmos at once. How do you relate or exchange affection or offer your heart? It's just too much, But Krishna's form is different. It's a person we can speak to. You can serve him. You can offer your love practically. You can cry to him. You can laugh with him. You can pray to him. You can walk with him. He's in a human form. That doesn't mean that he's material, which can be a little bit confusing. But he's in a human form, meaning that he has 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs. By all practical purposes, he appears like a human, even though he's of spiritual quality. And that's kind of the difference. But in that way, we can relate to him. And this is the heart of bhakti. This is the heart of bhakti. When people say, "Oh, what is bhakti?" It's loving devotion to God. It's loving devotion to God in a personal and reciprocal way. It's developing a personal, reciprocal, loving relationship with God. That's the practice of bhakti. So in that way, if you call God, whatever you call God, you could practice bhakti. If you're engaging in practices that help you develop a personal relationship with God. because God is unlimited. Yes, he's all powerful, all pervading, but at the same time he becomes approachable through relationship. And we all know relationship is what keeps you coming back, like keeps you, like transforms the heart and makes you want to keep coming back. It's so much more than just checking a box or just like showing up at a certain time and going through the motion. That's not really relationship. When there's real relationship, the heart is transformed. It's inevitable. We experience this in our material lives. When the relationship with a friend, or when our hearts, when there's reciprocal loving relationship and the hearts are connected, it's like, yeah, we want to show up. It doesn't feel like an obligation or something we have to do. It's just it's what we want to do. That's a natural, that's a definition, right, of real relationship. So Krishna's now, he's saying in essence, Arjuna, let me show you the form that will actually bring peace to your heart. And so now in this next verse, the camera, if there's like a camera on the battlefield, it's like it's going to shift back to the narrator as Sanjaya, and he's going to describe a little bit what's happening here. So we were kind of zoomed in to Krishna and Arjuna. Now we're kind of zooming out, and the narrator Sanjaya is gonna say what's happening here on the battlefield.
If I could quickly,
Please.
I'm muting. Hold on.
Okay. Yes, please.
You muted.
I did mute the phone.
If in thinking about Nancy's question, there is not information. There's not much information specifically about Arjuna's childhood or Arjuna's upbringing like that. The Pandavas, generally had like a more general modes of worship that may include that, but the form, Vishnu form, is not specifically mentioned. And that Arjuna, some commentators have suggested that Arjuna had an innate um, familiarity of feeling for that form, but that's it's more theological than a narrative explanation. It is not, and I can't. It's possible, very possible, that there are things I don't know about or I have not read about. But from anything I know, that would not be. That's not specifically named, like in the Puranas, or in the forest chapter, I think, of the Mahabharata is where that would might be mentioned, but not it. I've not seen that it is anywhere.
Thank you. Thank you, Kalachandji, a resident scholar.
Not at all. Very, very limited. I have to ask for every single thing.
Appreciate you. Okay, 50. Should we move to 50? When you're ready, Stella. Oh, and then I think Kalachandji needs to mute.
Okay. Are you muted? Oh. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna.
Thank you. So now Sanjaya, who's sitting with Dhritarashtra, begins narrating the scene again. So Krishna's reassured Arjuna. He said, "My dear devotee, don't be afraid anymore. Let the bewilderment go away." And then as Arjuna, just imagine the scene. Just put yourself in this scene. Like Arjuna's sitting there, he's fearful, he's overwhelmed. Krishna gradually just reveals just these sweeter and sweeter forms. The four-armed form, the two-armed form, it just gets sweeter and sweeter. It's like first there's this Virat Rupa, the universal forms, overwhelming cosmic manifestation of just like full power, destruction, infinity. It's like a horror movie in real life. And then Krishna reveals this Vishnu form, which is like this majestic four-armed form. It's like full of divine opulence and transcendence. And then finally, Krishna returns to his original two-armed form, the form of his friend, the form that Arjuna loves the most. And in this progression, you could just see, like, you could just feel almost like the relief in the whole atmosphere of the conversation. It's like Arjuna can breathe again, because Krishna understands something very deep about the heart. And that is that all may humble us, power may astonish us, but love is what is actually going to bring peace. Krishna understands this. Krishna understands this so well that when Arjuna asks to see the four-arm form, he shows him the two-arm form, because he knows his heart. He knows what he's actually looking for, and that is this intimate connection. Right? So Krishna just lovingly brings Arjuna back into this place of comfort and familiarity and relationship. It's almost like Krishna's just guiding Arjuna from overwhelming cosmic grandeur to like back to this intimate place, from and the Brahma Samhita says this beautiful verse: only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Krishna. So it's like Arjuna's eyes are smeared with the ointment of love, and therefore Krishna reveals himself in more ways than one. So now Krishna has shown him his two-armed form, and Arjuna's finally able to speak peacefully once more. And that's this next verse, and this will be the last verse that we do today. This is Arjuna, what Arjuna says after he sees this form.
And can I just say that I like that Sanjaya reminded the blind king that it was the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna.
Yeah.
Like he didn't just say Krishna said that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. 51.
Thank you for sharing, because Sanjaya Dhritarashtra is the father of Duryodhana. He's like, and that's his interest. He's like worried about Duryodhana. So his advisor here is saying the supreme person, his advisor who's talking to him. Yeah.
When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "Oh, Janardana, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature."
This is a perfect verse for us to end on here. He says, I've seen the form and now I'm peaceful again. My mind is composed and I've returned to my normal nature. And again here, Arjuna refers to Krishna's form as human-like. It's human-like because it has two arms, two legs, a head. But again, remember, it's not material like ours. Because Krishna can reveal unlimited kinds of forms, as we've seen in this chapter. But his two-armed form is his most personal and intimate form. It might look human, but it's actually spiritual and transcendental. And what we should really zoom in on here is just the effect that this form has on Arjuna. Okay, because just moments ago, he was overwhelmed, he was fearful, he was disturbed, he was shaken by the cosmic vision. It's like, again, a nightmare that's in your living room. But now Krishna's seeing this. Now Arjuna's seeing this familiar form again, and he's feeling grounded. He's feeling peaceful. He's feeling safe, relieved. And what he says, I've returned to my normal nature. And we can view this statement on multiple levels. On one level, he's a Kshatriya. He's a warrior. So fear and paralysis is like not in his repertoire. It's like not something, like if we're warriors, this is not a thing. Right? They're not fearful. Right? So he sees Krishna's form, and his courage and his like steadiness are returning. This is what's more natural for a Kshatriya. And then on a deeper spiritual level, his normal nature, as it is for all of us, is loving relationship with Krishna. Okay. So that relationship is what actually restores him. And this is for all of us. This is available for all of us if we choose to accept it in this life. Is that this relationship can also stabilize us and return us back to our normal nature, both on a material level. It can allow you the stability in life to really utilize the gifts that Krishna has given you in service to him, by giving you that stability and that clarity that you kind of get out of your own way, and those gifts can shine. And in a spiritual sense, and that that relationship reminds us of who we actually are. It's like you've been in different relationships with people, and some people you don't really feel like yourself, and some people are like, oh, okay, now I really feel like myself. I can be myself. Right? That's a big thing. Why do you love this person? I can just be myself. It's like the ultimate be yourself is in relationship with Krishna, because who we actually are servants of God. So in a relationship with him, it brings out the very best of us from our core, because it scrubs away all the dirt that's covering that up, like we said at the beginning. And naturally, as we go through life, like we said at the beginning, it's gonna destabilize us. If you think, oh, my life's pretty chill, I'm not really going anything big. It's like, just wait. Because the nature of material energy, the nature of life, you will get shaken. Something will shake you. If it's not happening now, get ready, because it will happen. And in those moments, everything can feel terrifying and uncertain. But gradually, when we reconnect spiritually and we begin remembering, like, wait, Krishna's still here. Even though everything has changed in my life, my relationship with God has not actually changed. The external circumstances may be changing, but the deeper reality underneath them is still steady. And to the extent that we reconnect with that unchanging reality that's underneath the changing circumstances of life, we'll start feeling peaceful again. We'll start becoming peaceful again. And that's what Arjuna is experiencing here. He sees Krishna's familiar form again, and it's like he just like can exhale. He says, okay, everything is all right again. I can be peaceful. Don't expect to be peaceful without relationship with God. You may experience like a temporary peace because you're like sitting at the top of a high of life, and you're thinking you're at the top of the world. You're in a good place, but just wait, because naturally it will go back down. And if we don't have a strong foundation, what's to say it won't become our, complete unravel. So this is what we learned through Arjuna in this chapter. We see he's gone through this incredible emotional and spiritual journey. He asked to see the universal form. He witnessed it. He became overwhelmed, fearful, destabilized. And what ultimately restores him is not more power, is not more information, is not more control or certainty, which is oftentimes what we look for in our moment of, when the horror movie comes into our living room. It's Krishna's personal presence. That's what restores him. Remember this the next time that you're feeling completely just knocked off your horse and you just seek more control or certainty or information. It's actually Krishna's presence that's going to stabilize you. Not more power on your own accord. And this is what we see here. Arjuna, the moment Krishna returns to his gentle, familiar form, Arjuna says, he just says in this verse, I'm peaceful again. Now I've returned to my original nature. Don't expect anything else to return you to your original nature. Not even the greatest companion, material companion you can find in this life. They may help, But ultimately, it's Krishna who will return us to our original nature. We'll have people, we'll have things, we'll have opportunities that help along the way, but it's ultimately Krishna that returns us to our original natures. Because life's going to shake us, inevitably. But this section reminds us that underneath all that, Krishna's still there. Relationship with him is still available. Love is still available. Shelter is still available. And to the extent that we reconnect with that deeper reality, we begin returning to ourselves again. And not this old self that you may be used to, not the fearful self, not the performative self, not the self trying to control everything, but this deeper self, right? The soul whose natural position is loving relationship with God. And this is maybe one of the greatest gifts of bhakti that many of us have experienced, and it was why many of us keep coming back again and again. And not that it removes every difficulty from life, because it doesn't. In fact, sometimes you get into bhakti and all of a sudden your life falls apart by all external, perspectives, means. But one of the greatest gifts of bhakti is that it gives us somewhere steady to return when life becomes overwhelming. It gives us this relationship that restores us, this presence that calms us, and this love that reminds us who we really truly are. And that's what we're seeing here in this chapter. This is what we're learning through Arjuna. This is the experience that we're going on with Arjuna. If we can only just learn to take it out of these pages and see it in our lives when we're on our battlefields and life gets crazy. The horror movie comes into our living room. How do we return back to ourselves? So this is all that I had for you today. Do we have any shares or reflections?
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much. It's a lot to chew on and think about this morning. And what struck me was how Arjuna had faith in all the forms. That even though there was fear, there was still this great love and devotion to the universal form, the four-armed form, and the two-armed form. And in the purport, I think it's to 1147. It describes that there was some aspect of the universal form that was shown to Duryodhana when Krishna went to try to broker peace before the battle, and made no difference. And I kept on thinking, doesn't matter how God shows up if I'm not willing to be open and accept God in my heart, that I'm never going to see him regardless of what form he shows up. So I have to be willing. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Duryodhana just couldn't see. Thank you. Kalachandji.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Another nice aspect of that incident that Nancy just brought up also connects with our class I don't know if it was the last class or class last week. That Krishna, when they don't take his idea, he feels sad. And I was wondering, how does Krishna feel when we betray his trust, or when we are not what we can be? And I also looked around and asked about that, and how he feels pain. He feels emotional pain. He feels sad, um, and in a sense, not at us, but for us. Um, I just thought that was beautiful. And we don't want to make Krishna feel sad.
Yeah. Thank you. It's part of that loving reciprocal relationship with God. Bhakti, we really learn to reciprocate with God like in his human form. Like he's like a person, and it makes all the difference. Because God's not limited. You know, if we said that God couldn't be a form like in a deity, for instance, that would be limiting God. So God has many forms. Anybody else? Final reflections, shares, things that you're going to take away with you this morning. Try to see more in your life. I tell you, I yesterday morning I woke up and my husband took my daughter to church, and so I bathed my deities and dressed them. And you know, it's something I kind of have had a hard time doing in the years that I've had deities. Is that like I feel like if I touch them, I'm gonna like make them dirty, or it's like I've always kind of had this hard relationship, like that too much intimacy is like I'm gonna like cause an offense or something, you know. And it's something I've just been working on because I know that more comes from me than them, you know, or it all comes from me than them. But yesterday I did that. I bathed them and I dressed them, and you know, it wasn't perfect. Like I made some mistakes as I was doing it, but it was just so sweet. I felt so much like loving reciprocation, um, in that. And I, you know, brought my gunk to it too. Like you know, I can be hurried, I can be impatient, you know, and I felt that in the same time, but I also just felt a lot of just like love and mercy and trust. And then all I wanted to do was just like chant to my deities all day after that, because it felt so much personal connection. So sometimes it's like this has been a realization of mine for a while now that I've been aware of and like consciously working on. But sometimes it's just like our own gunk that we bring to the relationship with God that keeps us from really experiencing um, that level of intimacy that we're craving. And sometimes just doing it anyway, you know, taking the steps and trying even imperfectly is ultimately how we get there little by little, you know. So I had a really sweet experience yesterday and was really grateful for this practice of bhakti where we get to serve God, you know, in his personal form as a deity, which is not always a practice that I've been open to, you know, my whole life, but becoming more and more grateful for. So it's just a weekend share. Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing that I felt that we went to the Bhakti Center for kirtan the last Thursday night, and it was hopping, and the deities were there, beautiful, their lordships, and like when you're dancing and you're singing, and then I looked over, and it just seemed like they all were smiling like crazy, they were beaming out also their love, and I didn't even see that the whole night. It was just like for a second, it just seemed like they just were like their faces were alive and they were smiling, and it was just a moment, but it was amazing. Like they were happy that we were happily singing their names.
Yeah, beautiful. We're so fortunate that we get to reciprocate with God in this form. Yeah. Thank you.
Radha, hi, Ball.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been a bit quiet the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So I think I'll Krishna's saying, add on to your deity story and be a bit vulnerable. Yeah, like the last weeks, I feel like I've been super tired and work has been intense, and they've just like, I'll get to, like Sage Group or meeting with my teacher and be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like, I can't believe a whole nother week is gone. Like, time is kind of flying. And yeah, and I feel like the days are just filled with either feeling like sick and tired or just like working. Um, and so I haven't been chanting as much in the morning because I've been like needing to hit snooze. And the other night I was like, like here by myself, and I noticed um the clothes on my deity needing to be like fixed, like they had slipped a little, and it's interesting how like sometimes you're like, wow, some things move and you're like, how did it move? So I was trying to like fix the back of the clothing, and the way I was holding near the base and the feet, I broke my Krishna deity, my Gornitai deity, like at the ankles. And I was like in shock, and I must have just been kind of holding it at like a weak, like a pressure point where it's like thinner, And so I was like in just like shock for a minute. And then I was like, okay, well, got to fix this immediately, So and like for my world, I'm like, museum putty fixes everything, which it kind of does. So I have that here. So I put like more decorative like flower thingies around the feet that I got from iFast altar. And, you know, um, ultimately I'm going to redo it when I totally redress them. And my husband's going to help me with super glue. And I think it'll be okay. But in the moment, like I was like realizing like maybe Krishna just was like, hey, like spend more time with me. You haven't spent as much time with me in the last like 3 weeks, and it really did. I just stopped everything and like, for like 40 minutes, just like took care of this situation to the best I could. And like now I feel like, Krishna's like the 10th of a millimeter taller and like looking pretty good. And so I ultimately was only upset for like some of those minutes, and then was like, okay, this. And later my husband was like, things are like gonna break and not everything is gonna last in the same way. And I've heard like, I'm like, you're right, like eventually I'll probably need new beads, or like you have to sew your bead bag. Like I've heard like, people wear their beads out because we hold them and rub them so much, like eventually you need new beads, and like, so I just thought, I think Krishna's just like, wait, hello, like come spend some longer time with me. But I was like, who do I ask? Like, what does this mean? Like, do I ask someone? And I haven't mentioned it to anyone else yet because it was just the other night, like maybe like 3 nights ago. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that. And it was kind of making me think in the class today, like, even when we're super like sidetracked and busy and just like, what the heck, like so many days have passed, like what is even happening? Like Krishna is there, and like even when we're having sort of a different experience of not our normal amount of sadhana, or feeling like, oh my god, the material life is just like taking up so much all the time, like most of the time, Krishna is there just in like different ways, different forms. Yeah, so that was kind of making me link that all together. Hare Krishna.
Wow, beautiful. What an opportunity for you to kind of pause.
Yeah.
I've had the same thing happen to me, by the way. My Haridas Thakur deity, his arm fell off. So I empathize with you. I'm right there with you. And actually, Gopa was at my house, a Prabhupada disciple, and she's like, let's glue this back on. And she
Nice.
just like glued it back on, right? It was
Okay.
like not even, didn't skip a beat. So yeah.
Thank you.
But I empathize. My first thing is like, oh my gosh, I'm not caring for them. This is.
Yeah, I like couldn't believe it. I was like, what just happened? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, my friends. Well, I think that is all for the morning. Thank you for coming and doing what you do, being open, vulnerable, and trying. That's the process. Just try a little bit more every day. Thank you. Being a family that does that together. I'll see you all on Thursday.
Hare Krishna.